Okay. This is a little bit awkward of an angle, but a little bit better than before. I'm going to keep working on that, but I'm also going to keep working on making videos. So, the anthroposophical model of the progression through 7 spheres or modes of consciousness. So it goes Saturn, Moon, Sun, Earth, Venus, Jupiter, Vulcan. Vulcan is obscured right now, but we do know that there is a gravity well in the solar system. And while I definitely am more in support of an electrical model than gravity, it is an axiom that we use to describe the space-time around us. So, whatever. So some people call it Planet X. That's what NASA's been calling it. The oldest records we have of humanity called it Nibiru and then Marduk. So there is at least one more planet, and I definitely am in support of a 12-sphere Olympian model. Not necessarily that the planets are the Greek gods, but just the number 12. However, so we look at 7. So this is kind of an extension of what I was doing before. So anthroposophy was brought forward by Rudolf Steiner as a correction for theosophy, which was a 19th to 20th century movement to preserve records from the Indus region and bring them to the West. So I'm a huge fan of preserving records. I don't agree with 100% of that stuff, but whatever. So the progression. So there's the classic alchemical model of turning lead to gold. And I'm actually going to publish what I found. A lot of the chemical records are not available. But Newton was working with various recipes and inferring them from Greek myths. So for instance, Venus is copper. So if you talk about Venus and Jupiter, which is tin, mating, then you can infer bronze. So things like that. How he figured out amounts to create chemical reactions, I don't know. But Newton was a plagiarizing thief. He stole Kepler's work and he combined it with the esoteric knowledge that he got from his Freemason connections, and also it seems that his father was part of that as well. So anyway, don't want to use this as a platform to air dirty laundry that I have with our scientific tradition, but let's be honest, science exists so that we can get better. And I'm not going to misrepresent my beliefs or what I'll choose to spend energy on arguing with these because they are so, they're such a part of our culture. But I'm going to move on from that. So, turning lead to gold. So if we view the anthroposophical spheres in order as metals, so planetary metals are something that was probably in the forefront, definitely in the Roman era. Probably more so than now. We definitely use the weeks, but I think with Celtic identity and things like that, somewhat in the US, we also subscribe, like we combine the Roman and Norse gods in our week, so we're a little bit confused on those, but especially if you speak a Romance language, kind of understand. I'm going to correct this a little bit. Okay. Okay, so in order, the spheres are lead for Saturn, silver for Moon, Sun is gold, Earth, Venus, or ascended Mercury, which Mercury is copper, not Quicksilver. That's a lunar thing. So the whole silver water thing has to do with how Mercury was viewed in the time that was being done. But Quicksilver is nonsense. But Mercury is part of a trinity, and Mercury is fundamentally a trinity. It is a planetary descended form of Sirius, which is a Trinitarian star, which is a primary and secondary, like big star, little star, and then there's a third one. So when you view whatever, so that makes sense. Venus or copper or ascended Mercury, Jupiter or tin, and then Vulcan, which does not have an assigned element. So you could say pretty much anything. You could get snazzy and call it graphene. You could be philosophical and say the philosopher's stone. Whatever. You could even say that's Mercury. The metal. Whatever. Is it a metal? I feel like it's metal. I'm a little bit rusty on actual chemistry, not philosophical chemistry. And then if you view those, of course, as the 7 chakras, you're going to have Saturn or Kronos as ground, which makes sense, especially with time-space. So Kronos is the grandfather and the god of time, and I also like the Celtic view of like that grandfather tree spirit, wisdom keeper, placeholder, space keeper, almost grandfather Christmas type of figure. So I really like that view. Moon is sacral, which makes sense. Solar plexus and sun makes sense. Then earth and heart, which doesn't really have a planetary metal. You can argue iron. So Mars doesn't appear in that sequence of 7. That's something to keep in mind. So post-Roman era, we've a lot of us have evolved past the warlord phase, and that has been incorporated into the Trinitarian Mercury. And I think that's a whole other video that I could probably do for an hour. But the idea of warlord and war governance, terms of engagement, peace treaties, things resembling Versailles and Appomattox, those are under the governance of Mercury as an aspect of the business and law personality. So that's one part of that Mercury trinity. So you could argue iron there. Whatever. 7 is in the Mesopotamian model. 7 is Earth. Zeus is the god of that, which classically Zeus and Jupiter. That's Enlil, but whatever. He's the god of Earth. And that would be another father or logos image after Saturn. And 7 is is iron, Fe, ferrous. And it is, I believe, the densest naturally occurring element on Earth that was not transferred from meteorites, that we can actually trace magnetoelectrically to Earth in origin or something like that. I don't remember how, in scientific terms, exactly that was discovered, but I do know that King Tut's dagger is meteorite bronze, I think, and some other stuff. So I'm sure that would cover how to track that. Things like basalt, the Mariana Trench, pole reversals, a lot of, geologists work on that sort of thing. So 7 can be iron and earth. So, sorry. 7 is the periodic table number, and it's 4, or heart, in that anthroposophical progression. Venus is copper, or throat chakra, which makes sense, is Mercury, ascended Mercury. And then Jupiter is mind, which is a reflection of the sun, or logos, where Venus and the sun are, my hands look huge, are equivalent. And then logos and the feminine. And also that mind-body balance. And then Vulcan and Saturn. And Vulcan doesn't have a planetary metal, but let me see which one we're missing. I think it's Mercury, honestly. Like elemental Mercury. Yeah, it is. So that's kind of cool. But Quicksilver, not the planet, which is confusing. But Mercury the god, its archetype is copper, and that was taken by Venus. Okay, so I'm actually interested in days of the week here. That would be Saturday, Monday, Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. Yeah, that doesn't work. But, excuse me, I just ate a bunch of tacos. I'm not going to re-record though. The cool thing is, what if you view it as solar and not planetary? So classically, the first three chakras are considered warm colors, so red, orange, yellow. And the higher chakras are considered cool colors, which is, if we exclude heart, blue or indigo. No, blue, indigo, purple. So a lot of people already put out, and I'm still, there are 4 videos that I cannot seem to get onto my page. And especially the one, it's 28 minutes, but I've had no problem loading longer videos than that. At least onto YouTube. But my internet connection is fine, and as it's going through the processing where it adds the automatic captioning for Facebook, it boots it out. It crashes Facebook, or it suddenly stops, just it doesn't load. And then at one point I left it for about 2.5 hours, and it just would not load. And it's because I was talking about dark occult magic, so let's see if this one loads, because now I just said that. Okay, but I just put out a very informal video about high vibe and how amplitude matters. So saying high vibe doesn't make sense because all of these objects around me are high vibe because they're solid. But we say that because of infrared, visible spectrum, UV. We measure stars, and this can also be found in my blue shifting video. We measure stars. Red shifted is, so supposedly we're still expanding. Definitely I subscribe to oscillating universe model, where the Big Bang is a cosmic breath. But suppose we're still expanding. When we measure suns, we see them as red shifted, or like slower or lower than us. And then blue shifted is higher than us. And then I believe it's if they're moving away, they're red, and if they're moving toward us, they're blue, which is like a visual version of the Doppler effect, which is traditionally sound. So, what if the chakras in that planetary system, the warmer colors are like a red shifted sun, and the blue colors are a blue shifted sun, and green and yellow, based on pigment and TVs, is our sun, which I'll explain in a moment. And we're moving toward a higher evolution in the pattern, toward higher chakras or higher stars. So I'll explain about the yellow and blue thing. When you combine pigments or paints, whether natural or synthetic, well, pretty much mostly synthetic, although I'm pretty sure if you combined indigo and turmeric, they would make some sort of forest green color. But when you combine paints, or generally synthetic pigments in some sort of substrate, you can form all the colors of the rainbow from red, yellow, and blue. And when you're looking for light, so whether it's theater lights, a TV, I believe it factors into like physics experiments as well. Not quite lasers, but things that have to do with visible wavelengths. Your 3 are red, blue, and green. And we see plants as green because of chlorophyll. But it's also because they absorb everything but the green, and then that's what we see because they bounce it off them or something. And of course our our sun is yellow, or viewed as yellow. And that's kind of right where we are with Earth, is like that yellow and green. And then everything above it is some sort of blue or ultraviolet. Solar plexus is solar, viewed as gold or yellow, and everything below is red. So, what if those are red shifted? Because we're moving away from those concepts. Just a thought. I know I have trouble staying grounded and embracing the physical. And that's especially true if you have chronic illness or chronic pain. So I'm going to not project my personal experience onto that, but maybe, I mean, a lot of people have those same issues, so it's relevant to kind of examine what those mean to you. So just a total, it's a weird idea. I'm definitely guilty in my past, especially in the late 2000s, of viewing correlation as causation. And I'm not going to say that that's true, but these are just exercises. See if it's true for you.